We don't want to pay taxes to you anymore. Too bad. We're going to take all your gold. Oh, hey kids. I'm just over here thinking about the navigation acts and how they're going to help spring the colonies forward into open warfare with the motherland of England. So we had Captain America here. He's colonies. Darth Vader, of course, represents England. So that's something we're going to talk about today. But that's really at the end of our lesson. Let's start at the very beginning. It's a very good place to start. So this lesson is called Government in the Colonies. Well, colonial government. And so much of colonial government, and indeed, what ends up becoming the United States government, comes from these British ideas of government, which makes sense. It's sort of like the colonies are the children of Great Britain. There's two key principles in British government that we end up adopting ourselves, and the first one is protected rights, and that's where we start here with our typo. The people of the colonies believed in protecting rights. Things like trial by jury and protection from unjust punishment was important to them. Sounds like it'd be important to everyone. They got these ideas from Mother Britain. As we learned in the intro video, protected rights began in medieval Britain in the year 1215 with the Magna Carta. The rights given in the Magna Carta only applied to an elite few at the time, but as history progressed, these protections were applied to more and more people. With these rights, even kings had to follow laws, the same as everyone else. Now, England already had a tradition of representative government, which means people elect leaders to represent them within the government itself. So not everyone's involved, but everyone, well, a lot of people, well, white landowning males, were involved in electing people that would run government. The English representation in government was and still is called Parliament. It is the job of Parliament to make laws and, well, really conduct government affairs. Parliament had two chambers, the House of Lords and the House of Commons. The House of Lords was only open to the eldest son of the nobility. So there weren't actually that many people that could serve in it. Now the House of Commons, as you might have surmised, was filled with elected representatives of the common people, most often merchants and property owners. This this model of two houses in the legislature really served as a basis for what would become the two-house system of the U.S. government. So now we have a House of Representatives, the lower house, and the Senate is the upper house. Parliament had the House of Lords and the House of Commons. So, on that topic of representative government, one time in the mid-1600s, the King of Britain and Parliament were in a power struggle. The Parliament managed to usurp the king and put in new rulers, and they even did it without shedding any blood. So no battles, no killing. This would be called the Glorious Revolution. Basically, they put in a new king and queen that were much more receptive to what Parliament wanted. And this was a big turn in British history because at no point after this did the king or the monarch end up holding more power in government than the Parliament. Now, the English Bill of Rights. Not long after the Glorious Revolution, Parliament drew up a Bill of Rights. It put policies in place limiting the power of the king, Parliament, and guaranteeing certain rights to the citizens. This might sound a little familiar because the U.S. Bill of Rights is based in large part on, well, the British Bill of Rights. But we'll talk about that a few chapters down the road. Let's hit up these governments in America real quick. There were initially two types of colonies in America. Charter colonies were based on the charter given to a company by an English monarch, basically, the King of Britain. The company was pretty much in charge. Remember, the Massachusetts Bay Company, ran Massachusetts Bay. And then you had the Virginia Company. Those were charter colonies. Now, the other type was a proprietary colony that was basically like run by one person. Like it was given to the king. Like, remember, the king gave William Penn a colony of Pennsylvania, and William Penn was pretty much in charge to set it up how he saw fit. Now, when these colonies generally failed, they were put in pretty much royal control. They became a royal colony, and this happened frequently. How the king would handle it is he would appoint a governor of the colony, and then he would pretty much appoint or set up a council. What do we call it? The upper house. Yes, the upper house. And then the lower house was selected by the colonists. So also a two-house system like a legislature, except the upper house was basically chosen by the king, and then the lower house would be chosen by the colonies. There was a source of tension here because the governor and the upper house, who were in control of the colony, were appointed by the king and pretty much did what he told them to, and that wasn't always what the colonists wanted. So you would have fights between the lower house and the upper house. It was a source of tension, and hey, maybe that could lead to problems down the road. Wink, wink. George Washington showing people how it's done. Not historically accurate, but totally awesome. Now, the local governments are a bit of a different story. We had these small settlements form, and initially people got together, and their government was basically town hall meetings. Everyone would get together and decide on laws and rules for the settlements. And this ended up growing into small local governments. Now, keep in mind that people with a say was generally restricted to white landowning males. So it's not like women are voting. It's not like anybody of any other race is voting. Pretty much white landowning males. Regardless of these restrictions, with this source of really this type of local government within the colonies, there was far more representation in the colonies than there was anywhere else in Europe. It was far more democratic. And this would really help the colonies out later on when they formed their own government, basically from scratch, but using, like we mentioned, a lot of ideas from Britain. Now, let's talk about mercantilism. Pretty much if you talk about English economic policy at the time, it was mercantilism, which was the idea that countries needed to export or sell away to other countries more than they imported. So you're selling more than you're buying, and as a result you acquire wealth. And these times it was pretty much silver and gold. That type of wealth. That's what we see. Precious metal, precious mineral wealth. That's silver and gold. So with that in mind, they made these navigation acts. And the navigation acts said a couple of things. Well, like the goods from the colonies in Britain had to be sent on ships that were either made in the colonies or Britain, and they had to be manned by English, usually English folk, be they from England or the colonies. And that was a small part of it. A large part of it was the colonies had to sell all their goods to England. In addition, any goods sent to the colonies from anywhere other than England had to go through England first to get taxed. The idea here was that no one but Britain would reap the benefits and profits of commerce with the British colonies other than Britain itself. That was their idea there. That was so that they could acquire more wealth. Okay, now, with that in mind, at first the colonies were pretty excited about having a guaranteed market for their goods. So, no matter what I grow or build, I'm sending it to Britain, they'll buy it. The problem was as time went on and the colonies grew, they wanted to sell their goods to other countries where they could get a better price. So say you had to sell it to Britain, and Britain will only buy your tobacco for, I don't know, $10 a pound. But over there in Spain, they'll pay $15, but they weren't allowed to sell to Spain. So they got sick of that. And they also got sick of paying taxes on goods coming from other countries. So some colonists resorted to smuggling, which is, of course, loading up your boat with goods and sending it somewhere else, even though it's illegal, and doing it secretly. So that's what started to happen. And that's really where we end the chapter. People in the colonies were starting to see tension. We're starting to see tension in the royal colonies between the lower house and the upper house, which is the colonists basically versus king appointments, and then with this smuggling issue. So we're going to see where that takes us in the coming chapters. Alright, that's it for the lesson today. You have a simple quiz. Now this is advanced, and I've been giving you 2 attempts on the quizzes. We're changing it up. one attempt. So you got to pay attention. You got to do a good job the first time. If you need any help, or let's say you really flubbed the quiz and you think you can do better the next time, you can let me know. Otherwise, you all have a wonderful day.